A snow day. I'm Karli Barnett. We have extended team coverage this morning as we watch for snow. So let's head outside with meteorologist Matt Daniel with a look at today's forecast. How's it feel out there, Matt?
It feels great.
Georgia ranks 7th in the entire country for sex trafficking cases, and those cases increased by 40% from 2015 to 2017. This news got a lot of you all talking online. We're going to take a look at some of your comments now. Rooster writes, I'm glad the trooper was observant. He saved lots of dogs. Using one triggers something called dopamine. It's a chemical in our brain that just makes us feel good, same as when we have a good workout or eat a piece of chocolate. The clerk says he gave them some cash as well as his cell phone, and they took off on Mercer University Drive. A California man is accused of raping or sexually assaulting 7 women in a case that raises new questions about the safety of ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft. Be the good news in someone's day. We can praise someone for the good they do. We can just be a little nicer to the people around us. If you want to see more good news, try being that good news today. And how you can help is as simple as going shopping. I just picked these up in the time between the two shows here. I've got some pencils. We'll toss those in. And Matt, how long have you guys been working out there today? I know it's hitting different areas of central Georgia at relatively different times. We have breaking news this morning. A grandmother and a baby were found shot to death in a yard in Dooley County. We are learning new details about the deadly 18-wheeler crash that killed 3 people yesterday afternoon. Now, team coverage continues as we check in with counties all across central Georgia. Suzanne Lawler is speaking with county leaders and keeping an eye on the roads this morning. Suzanne, what have you seen? Move-in day for a lot of college students.
So exciting.
Best to get that out of the way early in the morning. Because Dad's going to be lofting a bed later.
Yep.
Putting up a futon. There has been some controversy with the Miss America organization lately, and I know that's been a question on a lot of people's minds. Let's see it all together.
Yeah. Very good.
Frank, Lori, sex trafficking is a problem we have talked about, unfortunately, several times here on 13 WMAZ. But a recent study shows most of the medical professionals who could help simply don't have the resources to intervene. So I spoke with local nurses and advocates who explain why a push for federal legislation could save lives. Over the last few years, Central Georgia has seen multiple sex trafficking cases, and the problem is only getting worse. Something Denise Atkinson knows all too well.
Assessment for injury, collection of evidence.
As a forensic nurse and director of the Crisis Line and Safe House Clinic, she examines the victims of sex crimes.
It's happening right in our community, and people just don't realize that.
Atkinson says even medical professionals are often in the dark. In a study published by Johns Hopkins University, 95% of emergency room doctors and nurses say they never received formal training on the appropriate treatment of trafficking victims. And that is concerning since the Annals of Health Law reports 88% of sex trafficking survivors say they went to a healthcare provider while being trafficked. Survivors who could have been saved sooner. To show the scope of this, Georgia ranks 7th in the entire country for sex trafficking cases, and those cases increased by 40% from 2015 to 2017.
That was very alarming to me.
Amanda Parkerson is a graduate nursing student at Georgia College.
So I feel like if we can just start understanding that this is an issue, that's a good way to begin.
To help with that, advocates and many others in the medical field support the SOAR to Health and Wellness Act. It's federal legislation which would establish training for all healthcare professionals on how to spot victims of sex trafficking and provide them with the help they need.
If you're not aware that it's a potential, you're going to miss it because very often they're going to come in, you're going to see them, you're going to treat these people as a patient, and they're going to leave and you're never going to know it.
That's why Dr. Deborah McMillan, director of nursing at Georgia College, has already been teaching this in her curriculum for years.
You know, we wouldn't not teach our students to screen for diabetes. We would not teach our students to screen for hypertension. And this is really, you know, as relevant as any of those.
And she didn't need an act of legislation to see the importance firsthand.
We were able to get them into a different exam room. We were able to get the person out front. And we actually took them out the back door to a safe house, and we had the law enforcement come in the front door.
Atkinson says if you have suspicions, like if the patient has multiple infections or injuries that don't match their story, it's important to ask the right questions.
Are you able to come and go and leave your house whenever you want to? Do you have to ask permission to do things from someone? And it just kind of opens the door because they're going to come through the ER at some point.
That's why Parkerson wants to be on the first line of defense.
Police and I'll do a great job at finding and helping these people, but we need to identify them first, and I feel like that's our job.
Being aware of the red flags and intervening could mean you don't just treat your patient, you free them.
Comes right up the middle of Georgia, I-16, I-75, and that's where it all travels. Their end destination might be Atlanta, but they're coming through Macon.
At this point, that act has passed the House, but it still hasn't passed the Senate. We have more information from Bibb County District Attorney David Cook online, as well as what local hospitals Coliseum and Navicent had to say. Frank, Lori. Welcome back. It is 6:50 now. For many, the holidays mean family and friends who are more like family exchanging gifts. Two longtime friends from their days at Houston County High School reunited this season after time and several moves kept them apart. Video journalist Nicole Butler and I learned their gifts to each other didn't come in a box because, as they told me, you can't put a price tag or a bow on a second chance at life. It's a story that comes straight from the heart.
Yeah, Mama always took our pictures in front of the fireplace.
Then he did like this one, and actually
Didn't
that
matter if it
one.
was formal or
Donna Barfield and Katie Emery share a lot of memories.
Here's another from the wedding. Here we're being silly like we always are.
The two friends met in some of their first classes at Houston County High School.
She was Miss Athletic cheerleader and things, and that was not me. But it just, over the years, it just worked.
We became really good friends probably sophomore year, and I moved away after that year to Florida, but we just always stayed in contact.
That was 1996.
You know, when you find somebody like that, that's very rare for an Air Force brat.
Since then, they've made it a point to get together as often as they could. Tougher now with families of their own.
oh my gosh, her hair.
But this year, they can still laugh at old outfits and hairdos sitting across the table at this house in
I
Atlanta.
didn't know I did two of these.
This house wasn't the beach or Las Vegas or Paris, but it was their biggest adventure to date. Because this house is just down the street from Emory Hospital.
Because anytime you're down and out, it can affect your emotional well-being, much less other relationships in life. But Katie was always there regardless.
And she's there for her now. Donna was born with polycystic kidney disease and was in desperate need of a transplant. The donor, someone who lived on the other side of the country in California. But she was no stranger.
And they always tell you the matches are so rare, I guess, if you're outside the family. And I thought, well, I'll just give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
Katie was a perfect match. The two underwent surgery just in time to be home for the holidays.
It didn't seem real.
Donna was shocked. Katie wasn't.
And the whole time I was like, I know I'm your person. I know it. I just feel it. And she's been so let down so much by all of it, but I just knew.
You see, Donna has been through this before. She had her first transplant in July 2016.
Everything was perfect. I returned to work, and on October 22nd, I was rushed to the ER with severe pain. The kidney had flipped inside of me. The kidney was too damaged to work enough. You have a lot of private conversations with God. You evaluate things, and you realize you can't give up.
And she didn't. Donna just hadn't found her perfect match. But she was there and had been all along.
I feel like it did happen for a reason, and that's why the whole time I just kept telling her, I know I'm it. I know it. I can feel it. I can feel it.
All those years, all those moves, and all those miles in between them. Through all of life's changes, something stayed the same. These two stayed in touch. Now they know why.
It's a different way of hanging out.
A rare match from a rare friendship.
It means being the mother that my children want. So it means, being the wife that my husband deserves, just being the person that I've always wanted to be.
Well, the pair stayed in Atlanta for about a week before they were cleared to go home. They say they want to come back to that house for a reunion next year.
Now, they shared their story because they wanted to make people aware of organ donation and what it means to be an organ donor.
Now, if you'd like to learn more or if you'd like to register to be a donor, you can look for this story on 13WMAZ.com a little later this morning, and we will connect you. And I'm Karli Barnett. First this morning, let's send it over to Matt Daniel. Matt, you get to be the bearer of good news this morning.
Finally. It's been like 2 weeks. I've had to say, rain, more rain.
Thank you, Matt. Well, overnight, strong storms swept through central Georgia. This morning, a few roads in Monroe County still need a little work. Our Yvonne Thomas is live near Highway 41 South with a closer look. Good morning, Yvonne.
Karli, that's right. Sure they will, but for now, back to you.
All right, thank you, Yvonne. We will keep an eye on the roads throughout the morning. Several areas are still waiting for the power to come back on. Obviously, if you're watching me right now, You're not one of them. Some of the largest outages were in the North Macon area on Zebulon Road as well as on Bass Road. This is a live look right now at Georgia Power outage map. You can see there are at least 500 outages in one neighborhood between Zebulon and Lamar Road. Crews are working to get power back on for all of their customers. Well, this morning the GBI continues to investigate a robbery in Macon that ended with Bibb deputies shooting and killing the suspect. The Bibb County Sheriff's Office says one of their deputies responded to an armed robbery at the Circle K on Riverside Drive on Saturday night after a pedestrian flagged him down to alert him. Deputies say 39-year-old Shamir D'Angelo Terry fired a shot during the robbery before taking money and running off toward Applebee's next door. The deputy confronted Terry there and the two got into a fight, moving toward the intersection of Pierce Avenue and Sheffield Road. The deputy tased Terry as a second deputy arrived on the scene. That's when authorities say Terry pulled out a gun and one of the deputies fired, killing him.
The deputy showed, dedication and bravery to follow someone that he believes or reasonably believes is fairly certain is armed up into a darkened street. And then the other deputy did is just as he's trained to go and back up the first deputy, and this is what transpired.
The Sheriff's Office says they are not releasing the names of the deputies right now. We also reached out to the Circle K, but they had no comment.
That is a huge lava front there, just consuming everything in its path. Massive amounts of molten rock, an unstoppable force of nature.
Some unbelievable video there this morning. Still more cause for alarm on Hawaii's Big Island as the Kilauea volcano continues to erupt. Officials are issuing more evacuation orders for residents who live in the path of lava. The eruption has already forced thousands of people to flee, but the lava flow has closed sections of main highways. Meanwhile, about a dozen people who ignored evacuation orders are now surrounded by flowing lava. Their only way out is by helicopter. One of the president's attorneys says his legal team will fight any effort to force President Trump to testify in the Russia probe. In an interview yesterday, Rudy Giuliani went as far to say the president could shoot someone and not be indicted. John Schumo has the details. Giuliani said that a decision about an interview would not be made until after President Trump's summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on June 12th in Singapore. Right now, American Airlines is warning travelers of possible airfare hikes. American CEO Doug Parker says high fuel costs are hurting their profits. He insists if oil prices remain as high as they are now, that will eventually lead to higher ticket prices. Not ideal for summertime. Right now, some in Macon are celebrating the city's great artists. Last night, the Federated Garden Club of Macon hosted the Road to Georgia Legends themed flower show.
They featured flowers from different places across the state of Georgia. The show also included paintings, arts and crafts, and music paying tribute to Macon's music history and icons like the Allman Brothers.
President of the Garden Club, Ann Neely Beck, says garden shows like this one show the public what they can do in their own backyards.
Just things like that are good for the environment and good for the neighborhoods.
And this week marks the 90th anniversary of the Garden Clubs of Georgia.
It is now 6:41. Matt, at least people are going to have a good week to get out in the garden.
I know. It's going to be fantastic.
Welcome back. It is 6:44. Those storms last night were interfering with our Betty Bye time because that thunder kept rolling in. But the good thing is we got some really neat photos out of it.
I know, and this is one photo, and there's another picture sent in.
That's my
By
picture.
Karli. I just titled the Calm After the Storm, doesn't it? I guess that would be.
Well, what struck me, this was during, it was thundering and lightning, and when I had a moment, I was able to take this shot, and then I saw the lightning strike and ran back inside. But the colors with the storm going on around it were what was really striking to me.
I know, and like I told you, Karli, you got a really cool picture because you got a little bit of Mamadas here too, so very incredible stuff.
Welcome back. It is 6:52. If you plan on flying somewhere for your summer vacation, here is something you might see at the airport.
And there's an organization training therapy dogs to travel around the country with people. Tyler Brown shows us how the pooches do their work.
They come in all shapes.
Oh, the dogs that pass the workshop will be officially certified as work dogs, and they help spread comfort all around the country.
Do you think your dog Coco could be a good therapy dog, Caitlin?
She's therapy to me, so I don't know about anyone else.
I'm sure she would be just great. We're back in just a minute with a final look at your forecast.
First, though, here's what's ahead on CBS this morning.
Coming up.